Hello and welcome everybody. Mikey back again for another anime drawing tutorial. Yes, you guys gave me loads and loads of feedback from the last ones I did and I absolutely love you for it. And like I've mentioned before, there's a few that I keep getting requests for, and that has been including drawing a simple face, drawing hands and drawing anime hair. And more recently, hair has been the most popular request, so that is what we're going to do. Another thing you guys have also been asking me is just to talk really briefly about the equipment I'm using. And especially with the Sexy Anime Saturday series, you guys always keep asking me about the pencils. So a little recap. I have here some paper. That's good. It's just pretty cheap drawing paper, a slightly heavier weight than printer paper. But I recommend get any paper you've got at home and keep pace with me for this tutorial. I always encourage you to have a go at the tutorials I'm doing. I have, as ever, very cheap mechanical disposable pencil. It's got a single lead in there. The packet says HB, but this is quite dark, so I'd say it's probably closer to a 2B. Came out of a rich packet here, paper mate. Thank you, mate. And as you can see, I've been doing loads and loads of anime drawings in this sketchbook for the Sexy Anime series. So I'm almost out of pencils. I need to buy some bloody more. On the back, paper mate tells you how to hold a pencil with your hand. Number 1, here's a pencil. Number 2, here's a hand. So even if you're an absolute retard, you should still be able to have a go at home. Good luck. As well as that, I have an eraser from W.H. Smith. Bit of free advertising there. Well, we call them rubbers over here as well. Not gum. Don't know what that is. Probably the French. And that is basically it. Off out of shop, I also have a cup of tea, which is delicious. So really useful to do. So right, we are going to talk about drawing anime hair, and more particularly, this example is going to be how to draw dark, short hair on a female anime character. I'm going to be doing another similar tutorial very, very soon about how to draw long, light hair, so that between these two tutorials, you're going to have all the skills you need to draw any haircut you want, really, of any colour. The reason why this is because there's so many different hairstyles in the anime universe. I could do a tutorial for each type forever and ever. And I'll probably do some more in the future. But the point is that it'll just take absolutely ages. So what I'm going to do in this tutorial, excuse me whilst I quickly draw a head in, is I'm going to talk about some very basic techniques when you think about what you're drawing when it comes to drawing hair. And this is all about sort of making it thin like paper instead of making it thick like noodles. I'm going to talk about just using very simple shapes to kind of block out where you want the hair to be, and then the techniques we're going to use both to fill that in so you've got a really good kind of look going on of the hair, and then also some really super basic techniques I like to use when it comes to colouring in very dark hair. So what I'm doing here is I'm just popping in a quick anime character. Let's have one arm back and one arm down. So this is going to go like this. Draw that line in. Let's rub it out. These cheap mechanical pencils, they've got rubbers on the back, erasers. They're not amazing, but they are quite useful at the same time. Shoulder here, tucks there. So let's have one arm going off down here in a kind of pose that you don't need to worry about because you'll never see the rest of the body. And then we'll probably have a boob that kind of comes in there, tucks out there, and then boom, goes off there. So there you've got a rough kind of shape already. We're going to quickly just pop in some eyes. Now, if I was really kind to you guys, what I would have done is I would have completely had a go at drawing this long before actually having a go at recording this and telling you all about hair. I'm saying hair, and here I am just drawing a face. Don't worry about it. She's going to be smiling about the entire situation anyway, which is great. And the reason I'm not talking you through how I'm drawing this face or body is because I've done it already. If any of you guys are familiar and following and keeping up my tutorials, thank you very much, by the way, if you do. That makes you awesome. Then I've already got some tutorials on how I draw anime characters, how I flesh out the body and do all the bits to make it nice and easy. Let's break the lid off that and pop a little bit of detail, nice and basic, in the ear. Excellent. Right, obviously the eyes and eyebrows and features aren't done, but I've got a vague idea of where they are, and that's all I really want for the moment. What we're focusing on is the hair. Gonna have a quick look through the camera phone. Bloody lovely, that roughly will do. Now, I've left a gap here because I want to talk about something first. Really, really important, guys. And that is about, when you think about drawing anime hair, what I want you to do, and what you're going to find really useful, is that, say you've got a squiggly hair here for an anime character. Let's make it quite strong on a page. And let's draw another one. If you try to make the thickness of the hair really consistent, like so, and always keep the two lines the same distance apart until you make it a point at the end, what you're drawing here is more of like a thick kind of noodle shape. It's just not quite right when it comes to anime hair. So what you need to imagine is that this is actually a really thin strip of paper. And when you look at something so flat and wide, you see it at all sorts of different thicknesses and angles. So for this example, imagine you see it like this, and then it's tighter here, and you can see it quite wide here. And again, because of the angle that you're working with, you're always going to see it in a slightly different way. And this is part of what I want you to think about when it comes to hair. So imagine it's kind of dark area there of it. This is a dark area here, and even here we're actually seeing it now from the other side completely. Now, this will make sense the more I draw this character, but certainly really important stuff. It's all about thin sheets of hair, not thick rows of noodles. I'm going to quickly rub this out, and then we'll crack on with this mug. Okie dokie, for those of you watching at home, I hope you have yourself a quick sketched head ready. Let's give this character some dark short hair. A really useful place to start on is smack bang in the centre of the front of the head. Get the fringe out of the way first, depending on the hairstyle. This one's going to have a haircut which is a little bit like Rei from Neon Genesis Evangelion, and a little bit like, I think it's the General Makoto from Ghost in the Shell. Or if I've got that name wrong, simply tell me in the comments below, and I'll feel like a bloody idiot, because I love that anime. Right, so what I always like to do is, if she's having like a pointy fringe, is use really simple guide shapes, and I go for curved triangles. So if I imagine that there's going to be a clump of loads of hairs here in a kind of curved triangle, and then we might have the same coming down a bit longer just over here, and perhaps also back up here, you can see that these rough shapes are already representing big sort of areas of hair falling down over near the eyes. Another good thing as well is do have the hair ever so a little bit cut over the area of the eyes, because it just makes things more kind of attractive and dramatic. So here's the edge of the eye here, and I'm going to make it much thicker when I actually finish this picture, but I'm going to have the hair just come right close over here, just so it's just going to kind of interact and play with the face a little bit. So let's have this go here. Here's another clump. And I'm imagining that the hairline starts about halfway between the eyes and the top of the head. So her fringe might actually be right along this imaginary line here, but it kind of pops up a bit before coming down, and the hair's kind of swept from far back and it's swept forwards. Now another really important thing, and this isn't just about hair, this is about drawing all sorts of curved lines, is that you'll notice as a right-handed person, I am only so far drawing the hair on the left-hand side of the head. And that's not just out of habit, that is actually on purpose and for a really specific reason. Let's just quickly draw a bit more hair here, and I'll tell you all about it. You can see that I can barely multitask, trying to teach you about hair and draw hair all at the same time. Right, so what do you mean, Mikey Mega Mega, about the right-handed thing? Well, when your hand's like this, it's very easy and natural to draw a curve in this direction. That's big news, everyone loves that. And it's not so smooth and natural for me to draw a curve that actually kind of bends in towards my hand. And if you're left-handed, you should find it's easier to draw a curve this way. I won't do it, I'll look like a mug drawing on my left hand, a real fool. And harder to draw these types of curves. So what's really important here is that I'm going with the way that works naturally the best for my hand. I'm following these curves round with the natural arcing motion I get from my right hand. And what I'm really going on about is that when you're drawing lines on paper, when you're drawing lines, I should say, and hair, don't be scared to move the paper. That's really important. So I'm going to start doing the other side in a minute. Just going to break that lead so it's nice and sharp. It's another thing I love about these super cheap disposable pencils. These really are like a cheap pack from Tesco, which is like a much better Walmart, basically, or Fresh and Easy, I think they tried to buy in the States. So I kind of got the hair down on this side of how I want it. We're kind of seeing over the top of the character. But in order to get the curves coming naturally this way, I'm actually going to take this page and just flip it right over. Why not? It's not the craziest thing in the world. I still know where I want the hair to fall on the character. And again, it's naturally easy for me to draw the hair falling in this motion and in this direction. That's exactly what we're going to do. So a little bit like that, why not? And then can have this whole area come out like so. So this is a really simple kind of curving triangle shape I've done here. But when I'm finished, I might make this become loads and loads of separate hairs for the character. Might even have a whole thing that comes off here. Who knows? I do. I know, because I know what I want to draw. But maybe you don't know at home. Or maybe you want to draw something slightly different. Just follow the basic rules that I'm trying to give you here. Start off with nice light shapes. Get a feel of how you're going to have it on the head. And remember, if the character's got healthy hair and good volume, it's going to kind of sprout up from the top of the head. So it's not going to be all flat and moppy. If I just kept the top of the hairline along the top of the skull, it wouldn't look quite right. She'd have no volume, and she wouldn't be a sexy anime girl. She'd just be like some kind of filthy looking one, but not in a good filthy way. But enough of that. So I hope this gives you an idea, everybody, of just these vague kind of triangle shapes and lines I'm using to draw the hair. What I'm trying to do as well is show that they are flat and thin triangles, not thick kind of noodles. So as these lines come down, I'm already thinning them off towards the tips. I'm not trying to make them stay equidistant all the way to the bottom and end them in points. They're not spikes. They are kind of like flat leaves or flat blades of hair. That's a better way, I think, to think about it. Not spears, but blades. What the hell? I think I'm just reading too many Games of Thrones books there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop into a cheeky time lapse for you guys at home, because you do seem to like that kind of thing, where I'm going to just outline it and touch it up, and then we're going to talk a little bit about still applying some light areas even if you're doing dark hair. Alright, let's go.
Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega.
Okay, there we have it. Lovely stuff. Well done, Mikey. Thanks. Now, I hope as I'm drawing this, everything is within what you can see on the screen. I've kind of tried to remember what part of the laptop I've zoomed in on. And if there's anything you can't see or doesn't make sense, or you've got any questions, just shout really loudly at your screen right now, and I'll do something about it. Oh no, wait, I won't, because I'm in the past and you're in the present time. So there you go. Now, once we've got the outline sorted for the really dark anime-haired characters, what we could do is we can make the whole thing entirely black, or colour it in really, really hard with a pencil, which for most scenes is absolutely fine. And I encourage you to go ahead if that's what you want. No worries. What we're going to do with this one, however, is we are going to imply that the hair has a good texture and that it's made up of a lot of fine hairs, but only to a very, very basic degree. And what I'm talking about here is that we're going to leave maybe the very top completely black, and the edges along here downwards completely black, but in the middle we're going to make things just a very, very dark grey, and I'll show you how. Very simple. Mark off a rough area near the top of the head that kind of follows the shape of the head, so it's going to be a bit of a semicircle like this, and I'm doing this very, very faint, so it might have trouble showing up. I do apologise. Basically I mean that shape, and then the same thing again about kind of eyebrow level across the hair. And this isn't the line we're going to follow, but we are going to use it as a guide. So following the shape of the head, I'm actually going to start drawing in a zigzag line that kind of follows roughly all the hair, a little bit like this. You'll notice this zigzag line, it's all kind of centering to the top of the head, and it's not invading that far down, but where it does do so, it does it quite thin. And this is going to represent for us areas, just kind of rough areas and mountains with the darker hair going back into shadow, and that is going to be our entirely black area. And when we do it with these long areas of hair, they have to be even longer. And again, it's very similar. Bits towards the back and the bottom, you can afford to make those nice and dark. So our zigzag line is going to go right up here for this particular bit, like so, right into there. And on this strand of hair, it's going to be more prominent, so that will catch a lot of light. I'll follow the curve of that one, have a zigzag there, and then I'll bring it down here, make that nice and dark, and then start to bring the same thing here. So zigs and zags down and up and down, always following the way of the hair, just as far as I see fit. And that's going to go all the way back up there. Probably going to let it have a bit that goes like here. And then on the front bits here, I'm going to try to keep it roughly the same height. So there's some zigzag. There's some zigzag. Just keep saying zigzag. How many times can Mikey Mega Mega say zigzag in one tutorial? Many times. Almost as many times as I seem to touch my hat in all of my blogs and shout out videos, which you guys have been noticing, and I just can't help it. It's like a really weird habit. Thanks for noticing that. So again, zigging and zagging, following that rough kind of line I put in just as a guide, nothing more. This one here is going to be quite light, and everything down here is going to be quite dark. I might make this one a long one, just to catch the edge line of this hair. And now, having done that quite simply, I'm going to use this as my colouring in zone. So all this area at the bottom is going to be black, absolute black, as is the area at the top. And this area in the middle is going to be a very dark grey. So I will speed up this video once more. We'll pop back into some sweet song and cut back again to show you the very last thing that I like to do. Boom!
Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega, Mikey Mega.
Okay, so that's that. Very simply coloured in. Very dark black areas for top and bottom, and then a dark grey going on for the middle. Again, if you were drawing a smaller picture of this character or just showing them a distance, you just colour the whole thing in black and be done with it, nice and simple. But in a slightly more close-up, where the hair is a bit more important, you're going to want to show that texture and that light. So what we're going to do for the very final trick is I've got my thinly cut sliver of rubber. Now, again, following the way of the hair, just on the edges, going to start giving it an up and down rub. And what this is going to do, just about, hopefully, is zigzag again, just like before. And now these are creating even lighter areas. So just keep going over, just so that rubber takes out certain bits and zigzags. That's not the cleanest paper in the world because it's absorbed all the oils from my hand. I do apologise. I'm just going to zig a little bit here. And you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say zag a little bit here as well. And then just a bit there, just a bit there. And now what I'm going to do is actually just have this rubber nice and simply make this line up for me. There we go. Just like that. Just like there, over the clumps of hair. And just like that. What it's done is created a nice white bit of shine in order to indicate where the light is actually reflecting clean off the sheen of the head. Lovely, jubbly stuff. Alright, one last look for the camera phone. There you go, kind of makes sense. And there you have it. That is our tutorial on how to draw dark, short anime hair on your sexy anime character. I hope you guys found this useful as ever. Remember the tricks. Think of all the bits of hair as being very thin sheets or like leaves of hair. Keep it into blocky triangles so you roughly know where it's going to fall before you start drawing on all the bits. Rotate the paper and make sure you're drawing to what naturally works with your hand, which is always really useful. And add in some highlights or some darker areas by following the same curves and shapes if you want to add a bit of detail. Yay! Well, what I'm going to do for another tutorial in the future, as I've mentioned a bit earlier, is do how to draw long light hair, where the whole thickness of the hair thing becomes really, really important when you've got long hair in the wind, for a future tutorial. And between the two of them, you should be able to draw any haircut you want. Yay! Yeah! So, I hope you found this useful. Click like if you like, and click subscribe if you'd like to keep up with my other tutorials. And as ever, if you've got any feedback or any requests about what you want to see me draw or teach next, then simply get in the comments and have yourself an opinion. Right, I'm off to make more tea and read some books. Bye-bye!
Mikey Mega. Mikey Mega.